Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining me this evening for a PHP class. We only have 2 more weeks until final week, so hang in there. We're almost down to the last stretches of the semester. Hang in there, turn in your homework. Only have a few weeks left. Then you can have a little break during summer, right? So the last stretches. Okay. Any questions before I begin? Last week we were talking about the database connection, everything. I think whoever joined the conference should probably were fine with homework, and all the rest of the classmates probably were having problems. So I sent an email out for people to review the lecture recording and other stuff. So any questions that you encountered during last week's assignment. If you guys encounter a problem, those are the problems I need to cover, because then probably I missed it last week. Any particular problems for the last week's assignment? Oh, good. That means I can move on, right, to this chapter. Okay, so last chapter we were working on the database kind of directly, okay? So we had a remote connection to the MySQL server database, and then we're creating tables into the database that we already have, okay? We can't create database because we don't have permissions, but we can create table in the database that already provided for us. So we're creating tables, we're doing the query, we're doing insert statement, doing update, we can do all of that. Okay, so now think how often you would have access a remote terminal in to the database. Rarely, right? I'm thinking you're hosting a company's, let's say you are a site, okay? You probably have a hosting company that hosts your site, okay? And then you're doing some programming and all that, okay? Most likely for your users to hit your web pages, the website, they don't go remote connect to your database and try to do their database work there. What you do is you provide a web interface for the user to update your data, okay? So most often your users will not have access to the database directly. They only have the screens they work with. Then those screens would, with the code behind it, would update, insert, delete from the database. So this chapter is the most important chapter of the second half of the semester. We are going to learn how to do that in PHP. So with PHP, I can run the insert statement, update, delete statement, and so that the users can fill out the form, we can grab the data, and then save that data to the database. Okay, so that's what we're going to learn today. So it's a very important chapter. We're going to learn how to connect to MySQL database through PHP, and how to work with the database using PHP, and how do you create tables, and how do you update the data, insert or update or delete the data. That's the focus. And then after you saved everything to the database, then how do you get it back? How do you retrieve the database records and display it on the website? Okay, so that's the most important. So when you think about all this database-driven websites with the database backend, like Amazon, that's I use that a lot. Amazon, Facebook, any like Bank of America site, all of your, if you go to T-Mobile site, and all these sites, okay, and let's say you're looking for houses, you're checking the real estate sites, and you're looking for buying some eBay, okay? All the sites have huge database in the back end, and even Netflix, if you want to watch movies. All these have database in the back end. And what the site features, or let's say United Airlines site, have database in the back end, and your program, they write pages for you to interact with their database. Okay, you want to make a reservation, then you fill out the form, click on next. We'll go say, okay, we retrieved some information of here are some slides available on the dates that here's the search result. Then you can pick on which one you want to buy tickets for, and then you go to next. And the system will give you, next, and then you get the payment screen. You fill out the form, get your credit card information, and you submit. Credit card get charged, you got the ticket, and the reservation is also another record in the database, right? So they will remember that you bought the ticket. So everything that pretty much you interact on the daily basis, anything with the database backend, we're doing making connection to the database, grabbing data, present to the user, retrieve user data, manipulating, validating, save back to the database, and present confirmation email, message and email. So all of this, okay, is what we're learning in this chapter and all the chapters before this. Okay, so it all comes together here. All comes together here. Now, PHP has the ability to access database with a caveat. It is an open database. It follows the open database connectivity kind of protocol. So anything that's ODBC compliant database, you can use in conjunction with PHP. So PHP is coding the front end, and then you attach the back end. Back end can be Microsoft SQL Server, Oracle database, MySQL, which is free, MySQL database, or others. Okay, so as long as ODBC, you can use PHP to connect to it and then do your thing. So now let's look at, okay, how do you do that? How do you make a connection? How do you run the queries? Because this is functionality, we think that every page, most of the site with the database backend needs to do that, making a database connection, run the query, give me the results back, and all that. It's all very common. So instead of everybody writing their own code, then there'll be existing functions already written, because this is very common. So there will be existing packages already written for these purposes. You can just call the existing function. How easy it is for us, okay? So in the PHP world, there are kind of two versions. We have a MySQL package, MySQL improved package, which works with a later version of PHP. Okay, it's a newer package, and it's a object-oriented approach. So it's an object package, classes. So that's the MySQL package. Okay, and then earlier version, we just have functions. We don't have like an object. We have functions, and those functions is the old style MySQL package, MySQL package. Okay, MySQL package. Those are just set of functions. Nonetheless, you can use it. In this book, the examples were presented using the older packages so that it's comparable to if you web servers using an older version of the PHP. These function calls will still work. And in the appendix, there's a corresponding table for the MySQL package. So whenever there's a MySQL connect, there is a MySQL kind of connect function provided. So you can compare the chart and then see the difference. And I say for the examples, we're using MySQL Connect. For this class, it's okay to use MySQL Connect. And in the future, as you are writing your own code, you probably want to switch to the MySQL I package. Okay, it's a very easy switch. So now, okay, the first thing is, before we can do anything, we have to make the connection to the database. Okay, how do you make a connection? You call the MySQL _connect function that's already written. Okay, you just provide some parameters, you use the existing function, it will make that connection. Okay, so how do you provide the parameters? Okay, MySQL Connect, this function takes three parameters. The first one is the host, is your server, IP, okay, your server IP or server kind of name, server, right, and then username and password. So three things. With these three things, you can use that to connect. Okay. So here's the example. You would have the DB connect, that's the connection handle. So after you make the connection, your DB connect is the variable that stands for that connection. Okay. You call at MySQL Connect, and you go to localhost, and then here's the username and password. That's the connection part. And then after you use it, you can say MySQL _close to close that connection, okay? And you pass the connection, which connection you want to close. You pass the one that you open. Okay, you pass that one and you can close it. And here are other useful, I would say useful, but not very common as a user, as an application. There you can ask for the host information and the server information and different information about the SQL server, MySQL server. You can use these functions. Okay, now let's look at this. And the common errors for connection would be, okay, the database server is down or can't connect, and you don't have enough privilege to log in, and you put in the wrong name, username, and password. So those are some common errors. How do you get the error? You can use MySQL error number to get the error number that you encounter during your connection or running SQL commands. Okay. So let's look at one example of connecting. Okay. Let's go. Okay, share desktop. Okay, let's go to our my site. Okay, chapter 8, the first one. Okay, MySQL info. Okay, if you run this one, okay, you get some server information. Okay, now to do that, you first have to connect, right? So let's look at the code. Just pay attention to the connection part. Okay, and it's MySQL info. This is the code that's making this connection, retrieving this data. Okay, so on your PHP, of course, PHP part here, and then you define a DB connection variable, okay, and it's equal to MySQL Connect. MySQL Connect. So this is an existing PHP function you can call, and you pass three things. Okay, now remember, okay, this is the host, right? For our purposes, our SQL server, MySQL server, and PHP server resides on the same box, right? Same server, running, acting as a web server and a database server. So relative to the web server, okay, because we are writing this in PHP, right? So web server is running these codes. So relative to the web server, my database server is the same one. So it's the local host. So our server is local host. So don't put anything else. Don't put php.missioncollege.edu. Okay, we are connecting via the local host because our web server and database server are on the same server. So relative to the web server, database server is localhost. So we do localhost, and our username would be your account. So CA86 underscore the 2-digit account. For the code I'm running, I'm using the 99 account as a test. Okay, CA86-99. And the password is PHP. Okay, so I code that in my connection. And then so now DB Connect is the connection to the database. Okay, that's that connection. And then here's the printing. I'm just printing. I'm calling this get client info, and I'm printing it out. Okay, and then this here is checking for errors. So if the database connection equal to false, or if the connect has problems, then I get a false return back. So if DB connect equals to false, then we have a connection fail. Otherwise, okay, I have a good connection, and then I can ask information about that server, that client, that different things using these functions. So, but the most part that I want to pay attention is how do you connect. So this is the part. You call the connect and you give the connection string, and then you check to see if the connection is good. If it's not good, just print the error message. If it's good, then you're set. And then from this point forward, you can do your job of running SQL commands. Okay, so that's the connection piece. Now, whatever that we learned in Chapter 7, all those SQL commands, selecting, inserting, updating, delete, now with this connection, I can run those insert, I can run the select, I can run the delete, and I can run the update. Okay, I can do all of that. Okay, now let's see how we do that. Okay. Before I do that, I want to point out, okay, so a database connection code, okay, with pretty much every page, I need to make that database connection, right? If I'm moving, okay, let's say I'm on Amazon.com, and the first thing I to see is the home page, okay. I hope this Amazon.com. Okay. Okay. When you first come here, okay, you may see some of this this stuff. It's like the top selling things or the new things, whatever. And you can tell I searched for kitchen sink. I bought one on Amazon. So these things, okay, you get it from the database. So this page, you need the database connection, okay. And then if I check, say, okay, that's my Android books, okay. Okay, if you're doing the search, okay, I need to make a database connection as well over here. So every page on the site, the first thing I need to do is make that database connection, okay. So that code of DB Connect, MySQL Connect, all this stuff, it's pretty much I have to do this every page. Okay? So then now I don't want to repeat this many times over because I have like a 50-page site. So what's the strategy? How can I write it one time and reuse it? Everybody? Ideas? Use and include, right? Just like what you did for your project. But the things that you use often over and over again, you pull it into a include. Okay. So for most web pages out there, the database connection code is in the include file, separate from the other code, and it's usually in the secure location. You add more security on your file so that people don't get to it and crack your password, right? All right, that's some hints on the include file. Now let's go back and see how do we make that connection. Well, actually, let me just stay with the shared and go back to the code. Where's that? Okay. So let's look at this select test, okay? There is an example in the book on using the create database. So from website, from PHP, you can call the DB MySQL underscore create DB to create the database. But usually you don't do that. You don't use a web page to create a database, okay? The database usually is created first. And then tables, you design the tables, and those are created on the database. And then your web page are just interact with those tables. You are not usually, most cases, you don't create tables on the fly on the web page. Okay, no. So I'm going to skip the creating database. We don't have rights anyway, and it's rarely used. This select test I want to just show you because it's a repeating of the connect. Okay, so the select this example just show you how do you point to a database. Remember, if we're on the MySQL monitor, if like last week's assignment, once you log in, the first thing you do is say use, right? Use which database? Use CA86-99. So you're picking the database. Okay, so the picking of the database is what this example was saying. But before you pick the database, you have to connect first. So the connection code, I'm going to pull it into include, and then if the connection is good, then I'm going to call the, okay, so this is making the connection, and in this include is where I'm actually making the connection. I was also picking the database. Okay, so let's look at this include. Okay, include here. In this include, I'm going to give the database name as 8699, and here's the DB connect part, localhost 99 PHP. Okay, and if the connection is false, we run some errors. If not, then we pick the database. We pick the database by running MySQL select DB function. Okay, existing already. You don't have to code it. You just need to use it. And then provide the database name, which database you want to use, and the connection, so that you will point this connection to this database. Okay, and if it's good, okay, if there's no problem, then you have, you have a good connection. Then the connection now is pointing to the database you want, and that's a good connection. You can start using the DB Connect to do your work. Otherwise, you print the messages and close the bad connection. Then what's this @ sign? I kind of skipped that on the slide. This @ sign is press error messages. Okay, this saying, okay, I don't want the error messages to show up on my web page. Okay, sometimes you do want that. You don't want any kind of intermittent error messages or messages coming from the database showing on the web page. You want to, during the debug, you may take it out, and then you see all these error messages. You fix all of them, and when you move the code to the live server, you don't want to your user to see those messages. You put the @ sign that suppresses the SQL database messages. Okay, that's the include. Okay, so now this include, where I'm using this database, okay, CA8699, and this include is good for anything you want to do if you need to connect to this database, right? Your homework, examples, project, you can just create an include statement and use it in all of those places. That'll be a connection to your database. Okay, so use include. Now create table again. Okay, this create table example, you can create a table with PHP, create table, but not recommended. All right, you make a connection to the database. If the connection is good, you can. Okay, this is checking to see if you already have a table with the same name. You run a show tables and like whatever you want to create command. So here's the command. So this shows you how do you run a query. You construct a query, okay, because query is like a string, like a long string. So you are going to have the quotes around it, and that's your SQL command inside the quote. This is your SQL command. And then you are going to run this in the connection, okay, so through the connection. So you call MySQL underscore query. MySQL underscore query is the function that you pass the connection and the command. So this is the string, that's your SQL command, and this is the connection. When you do this, this command is going to run into the connection, and whatever it gets back, okay, will pass back. Your query result will get whatever is the result. So whatever you did in the previous chapter, like so you say show databases or show tables, all those commands now, instead of running it directly, type it into the SQL monitor and run it, you can sort of like type it in and then put it into a variable, and then you call MySQL query to run it through the connection, and the result will be sent back. Okay, with this function, the result will be sent back. So you save it into this variable. Okay, see the connection? Now, everything you did in Chapter 7, you can do it this way to run it through PHP. Okay. Now let's not look at this for now. Okay. If I don't have the table, okay, it's saying, okay, if I don't have the table, because after I say show table like the table I want to create, if I don't get anything, that means we don't have an existing table, then I can create a table. So again, so how do you run a create table statement? In the previous chapter, we go to the monitor, we type create table, subscribe to our team stats, and then you put values, and you list the columns, and you say values, and you list the values, right? You do the same thing. You construct a query, create table. So whatever is inside this quote is exactly what you should. If you would type, you have a direct connection to the database. And you would say create tables, subscribers, and ID, small int, all the list the columns and the types. And then you run it again, MySQL query, the SQL string that you just did, the command, and the connection. You run it, and you get the result back. Okay, so that's just show you how do you make the connection, how do you construct a SQL server and run it. And creating tables through the web page is again not recommended, because your tables most likely will be created ahead of time, have a good design, and all the constraints, all the keys are created and linked and everything, okay? And then your page is just doing the data parts. Okay, now let's go to an actual example that actually do some data. Okay, so here is the most important example, and you will practice on this, and your final exam will be on this. The final exam, you will write a form, and then have the user fill out the form, gather the information, and go to the database, save it, and then you would then retrieve the information you just saved and present to the user. So that will be on the final exam. Okay, so this is the very important part. Now let's look at this example. I go to a newsletter. It's a website, and I join this club, and then they have a newsletter. And if you want to subscribe, you fill out this simple form, okay? This form is simple, and you can expand this one to include more fields, right? It's the same processing. So let's use a simple form to illustrate the processing. So now I put my name, Helen Sun, okay, and I put my email, and I hit submit, okay. Okay, now it says, Helen Sun, here's the confirmation message. You are now subscribed to our newsletter. Your subscribing ID is 2, and your email address is that. Okay, that's the confirmation. And then if I want to see, okay, who's who's subscribed, let's show newsletter subscribe. I click. Okay, there's my name because I did it this afternoon. And in here we didn't really have a, I don't think we have the code of checking if this one already exists. So I was added to the database again. So this shows the list of subscribers. Okay, now let's look at the code behind this one and this one. Okay, the adding to the database and showing the records from the database. Now let's look at that code. Okay, newsletter subscribe.php. Okay. If you go to the, I can go back. I go to the create this one. Oh, not this one. The newsletter subscribe. Okay, this one. If you fill it out and hit submit, it goes to the same. It goes to the same subscriber newsletter subscribe.php. So this is a all-in-one form. One program. Okay. It's doing the display the form and also processing the form. So all in one form. Okay, all in one form. Let's look at the empty part. Okay, if I come to this page for the very first time, I didn't hit any submit buttons. I come to this page for the very first time. I should present the user an empty form, right? So let's skip the code where this is processing, right? So here, from here to the corresponding here, that's this processing, okay? The else logic, if I didn't hit submit anything, I got to the page for the first time, this is the part of the code. So I'm going to show this form, and this form, the action is newsletter subscribe to PHP myself, and then method is post. I have a name, label, and a text field called name, subscriber name, and email address, okay, subscriber email, sub email. And this part is saying, okay, if I have something, I'll put it in, okay, but this is the very first time, so the subscriber name is blank and the email is blank, so I'm getting blank form. So that's what I get coming to this form for the first time. And then the user types this data in and hits submit. What happens? I'm going to go to this code again, okay, but this time somebody hit the submit. So if set post submit will be, there will be values in there. And then we go to the processing part, the processing logic. So the processing logic here is the processing logic. Okay, okay, let's see what's going on for the processing. Just like we're saving stuff to the files, we have to do retrieving, validating. So those steps are the same. So we retrieve data from the user. Okay, so we are getting the subscriber name, okay, from the post author global array. If it's set, that means somebody typed something. Okay, then I'm doing the cleanup. So I'm going to strip the slashes, trim leading spaces, trimming spaces, taking care of those. So doing the cleanup. Okay, if after the cleanup I still have a 0 length string, that means nobody typed anything meaningful there. There's no data in there. Then I put an error message and then say there's an error. Okay. Otherwise, okay, this is the. Otherwise, my submit subscriber name will take on the name that the user put in, like Helen Sun. Okay, so now subscriber has Helen Sun, it's good. Then we're checking the email part. Okay, if there's an email, we clean it up. Okay, if it's cleaned up, it's good. Then my subscriber email now has my email address, helen.sun@wvm.edu. Now with that, okay, now I'm going to check if there's any errors. If my data is all good, then my form error count will stay at 0. Okay, will never increment, so I have the no error. Then, okay, then comes the part, I have no error, now I have the data ready to be saved into the database. Okay, now what happens? I need to make the database connection, right? I'm ready to save the data. So I make the database connection by getting the include part. So the include code will be the part that's connecting to the database. Okay, if my database connection is bad, then of course there's some other things. But if the connection is not bad, okay, not equal to false, not bad, then I have a good connection, I'm ready to use it. Now the table name I want to save this data to is the subscribers. Okay, and the date, okay, all right, this is current date. So we're going to take the current date in the day format of year, month, day. Okay, that's my date. Now here's my insert statement. Insert into table name, okay, and I'm calling the columns name, email, subscriber date, values. Okay, I providing the values, subscriber name, subscriber email, subscriber date, and then after that, I'm going to run that command through the connection. Okay, and then I'm getting something back. Usually, when you run an insert statement, what do you get? You say rows inserted, one row affected, right? That's that kind of message. And if you get something back, that means it's good. That means you already saved it. Okay. This part, I'm going to go through details of the code again. I'll show you with debugging message, so you will see what's going on here. And then, okay, question. I have a big theme. Any questions? Okay. I will continue, then I'll come back to kind of look into this in detail, what this blob of code is. So after you do insert and it's successful, you can say MySQL insert ID, because I'm using this table now has a auto increment, it's a system generated key. So it's like student, you apply and then you fill out the form, you hit submit, and you get that system generated student ID. Okay, so this one, if you call MySQL insert ID, will return the last one the system generated and you used. So that will be the ID for the subscriber. So subscriber get that ID. Okay, you get that ID, you can print it out, and then you can close database connection. All right, and then you don't need to show the form because you're processing page, so you skip the rest of this. Okay, now let's go to this SQL statement. All right, let me connect to the MySQL, and I will show you the table structure, and then show you some data, and you can see. Okay, I'm sharing, so let's go to PuTTY. Okay, this is a quick review if you need for connecting to the database. Okay, too many windows open. Where's my PuTTY shortcut? Okay, PuTTY shortcut here. Okay, you connect to the php.missioncollege.edu. So this is a remote login to the server. Okay, login as CA86-99. Okay, I'm using 99 account. Don't tell me it's broken. Okay, good. Okay, so be patient. Now PHP password. I'm in the server physically, kind of remote into the server box, but I'm not in the database yet. I have to call MySQL monitor -u -p -u CA86-99. So I provide the username, prompt for password. This is the connection to MySQL step. Okay, if I was remove login, and then PHP. Okay, now I'm going to use CA86-99, so my default database. Okay, so I'm here. Now let's say show tables to see what are the tables I have. I have company cards, subscribers, and visitors. So the subscriber is the one that this example is looking at. We're going to save all the people who are interested in getting newsletter into the subscriber table. So now, how do I see the structure? I describe subscribers. Okay, and here's my structure. Okay, I have a subscriber ID column. It's a small int. Okay, it's the ID. Not null because it's the primary key. It's primary key. So that's the identifier that uniquely identifies my subscribers. It's similar like the student ID you have. Not null, and extra information. This is auto-increment. Auto-incrementing means the system will generate this number. So if I have first one, will get an ID of 1. Second one will get an ID of 2. The third one will get an ID of 3. So when I insert, it automatically, if I already have 3, if I run the insert statement, the ID will automatically be assigned as a 4. Okay, so that's auto increment. And then I have the subscriber name and the email and the subscriber date. Okay, so those are the columns. And then confirmation date, okay, another column. And on the null column, so these can be null. It says yes, the name, email can be null, the subscribe date can be null, and confirmation date can be null to start a record. Well, the only thing required is the subscriber ID. But in most cases, you probably want to have name as not null and email as not null. Okay, subscriber ID date will not be null because we are going to supply the current date when we're running the query. Confirmation date can be null. So that's our table structure. Let's say what's in there already. So let's start from subscribers. Okay. Okay, here are the 2 records. I have me, okay, added this afternoon, me added this evening. Okay. So that's the record. Okay, now let me show you. Let's go back to the PHP code. Okay, here. Okay, I'm making a connection. Okay, and I'm pointing to the subscriber table. So now let's see what this insert into the. Okay, if I'm running this again. Okay, let me uncomment this out. Okay. For me, even even in the days where I'm coding this every day. Okay, I'm a programmer that I was web programmer for a long time. I was coding this every day. That's my career, my job, right? I do this 8 hours or more than 8 hours a day. Even at that time, I do this many times over. Most times I can do it in one shot without any error messages. I can put together my SQL statement like in the sleep if because I do this so often. But still, every time I have this debug statement there when I'm running my program. This will show what the SQL string, the command will be on the web browser. So I know, by looking at it to see if I missed anything, because there's so many quotes, okay? As you are constructing your SQL statement, you know you have to put quotes, right? The data you have to put quotes. And then you have variable names, and you have single quotes, or you have double quotes, and you have to connect, okay? And the dots and all the commas and everything. It's very easy to make one silly mistake, and you're thinking you got it right, and you couldn't figure out why it's not inserting or why it's inserting erroneous data. You just couldn't figure it out. If you print out your SQL command that you've constructed, in one glance you can pinpoint your problem. So it's a good tip or a good habit to put a debug in your code for printing out your SQL command. And then after you test it and everything works fine, then comment it out. Right? Leave it out there and then just comment it out so that the users won't see your long, complicated SQL command. But okay, let me uncomment this out. But this is on my flash drive, so I have to do this on the server. So, okay, let's go to, need to connect so I can show you what the SQL statement looks like, and then we can kind of decipher this. Okay, where's my Windows? Here's Windows. PHP. Okay, I'm connecting to the server. How did I? Oh, wrong password. Wait a minute, I need to use the 99 account. I'm using connecting to the 99. Oh, no, it's my account. Okay. Chapter 8. Okay, chapters. And the one that's subscriber.php. Okay, this is the one. Okay, I need to uncomment the echo part. Okay. Save. Okay, now let's run this again. Okay, now I'm subscribing. Let's go back to it just so that it updates. Okay, now this time John Smith, just random. Oh, John Smith. Made up name, and the email is john.smith@yahoo.com. Okay. All right. Now, if I hit submit, I should see my SQL statement. Okay, the one I echoed. Okay, there we go. Here's my SQL statement that I was constructing. Okay, in the code, it said insert into subscriber's name, email, subscriber date values. Okay, so this is exactly what you kind of need if you were having a direct connection to the database on MySQL Monitor. That's the same thing you would write, okay, to run it on via PuTTY, right? So if I type the same one, okay, I should hit enter. I should have inserted that record. Okay, so in my PHP, your SQL statement look exactly like if you were to run it on MySQL Monitor. Just that it's a little bit complicated in the PHP side. Let's look at how we constructed this. Okay, the first part, okay, the quote, double quote, it says insert into table name. So table name is subscribers, right? Table. This is a variable, and it stands for subscribers because it's inside a double quote with the variable name. Then this variable, the values of the variable will be placed here. So subscribers will be here. So this first part, the first line up to here, it will, the MySQL string, the SQL string will be equal to insert into subscribers. Okay, So that's only the first part. Now I need to say what? And I need to say the left parentheses and then the listing column name separate commas. And then I need to have the closed paren. Okay, so this is the second part. I need to list all the columns. Okay, so how can I get that? Okay, you have to, all right, in the code. Now the second part, because I have more to come, right? I need to concat this last part with my first part. The first part is easier into subscribers. So the second part I need to concat. So here's the concatenation operator, the period, right? This period is not anything in the SQL command. This is saying my SQL string continues. Okay, so now that continues. Okay, it continues. All right. Now ignore this command line, and then I'm getting here. The next part is the left parentheses, right? Oh, no. We're not here yet. We're here. Okay. I'm concatenating. Okay, the next part is this part. The name, email, subscriber, right? So I put that whole thing in a string. Left parentheses, name, comma, email, comma, subscriber date, comma, right parentheses, right paren, and then values. Okay, so that's my next part, part 2 of the string. Okay, see that? Okay, part 2 of the string. I put in this part 2 of the string in double quotes, and that's my second part. Now I need to say values. Okay, all right. Squeeze this a little bit. Now I need to say values, and then my name in single quote, comma, the email in single quote, comma, the date in single quote, comma. Okay. Now that part, okay, now let's continue. See, I need the left parentheses. Okay, so I put a double quote, this is my string, the left parentheses and the quote, the single quote. Okay, so what's that part? Okay, let me do this and see. That's this little thing. Okay, this little part. The left paren and the single quote. So I put that in as a string. That's my next part of the string. Okay, so there's that left paren in the single quote. That's in double quote because that's a string. We're saying, okay, we need that little string. Then concat, the next part is John Smith. So what's John Smith? In this code, John Smith is a variable, right? We save that first name, not the subscriber name, in a subscriber variable. Okay, it's John Smith. So we put the variable name here. Okay. So now that John Smith is subscriber name will be concatenated with the left paren, the single quote. Okay, now I'm up here, up to here. Now what's coming next? A single quote, a comma, a single quote. Now, where's my, here. So next part is single quote, comma, single quote. So we put that next string there. So what's this? It's concatenating. Okay, this dot here is concatenating. We continue. We do the same thing. We put the subscriber variable, and then concat with after subscriber email is single quote, comma, single quote. And the next comes the date. Okay, and I put the date, and then after the date I have a single quote, a right paren, and the end. So single quote, right paren, and finally I'm done. Okay, see how this SQL command is constructed with the data that you saved? Okay. This part is pretty tedious and it's hard to get it right the very first time around, because with all the single quotes, double quotes, period, and variable names here, different variable names here, and all this stuff, it's very easy. Well, I'll say it's usually pretty easy to make mistakes. Okay, so when you're debugging, make the next this debugging message there so that you can see it. If you forgot the dot, okay, not the dot somewhere, you forgot the dot, then you can see only part of your string. You won't see the rest of the string. Or you forget the single quote somewhere, then you will see the John Smith, one single quote here, and then no quote, and then comma, and then you say, oh, I'm missing that quote. So print it out, then it's easier to see your mistakes. Okay. And if you forgot a double quote, then the PHP will complain, because it says, okay, let's say if I do this, what happens? Okay, it's treating this as a literal string. It's treating this not as concat. Okay, so this is the start of my string, and this is my end of my string, and then this is weird, and then this whole thing, the PHP will complain. Okay, so the one thing that you is a hint is in PHP, okay, the variable names are blue. So if you put your quotes wrong, your literal text is like black. Okay, your variable name inside double quotes is like bolded. And if your variable name becomes black per se, black like this, then it's a literal text. It's no longer a variable. So you will get subscriber name rather than John Smith. Okay. After you construct, you can run your SQL command. Okay. Let's go to this one. So I run it, and now I should have 3 records, right? Subscribers. I have 3. I have the John Smith. That I inserted that one successfully from the web page. Okay. I'll leave this one on so that we can see the debug message. Any questions so far? This is the important part. Now that's the saving the data. Okay. Now if I want to show how many subscribers I have now, let's look at the second part. I click on Show New Subscriber. Okay, I get a listing of my subscribers. So this is also very common too. Your listing of your products. Okay, you can kind of list your products, and then you can have another form to order things. Okay. So listing of data in a particular table. Okay, let's see the code behind this. And that'll be show subscribers show newsletter subscriber.php. This one, okay. So before we look at the code, what do you think should happen? What's behind the scenes? If I know the table and I want to get the data to display. If we were to do this on the database directly through Putty, I want to list all the subscribers who I have. What do? I just did the command that I wanted to do. Is you say select star from subscribers that list the existing subscribers. Basically, this page, okay, this web page, I want to do the same thing as what I'm doing here. Okay, so I'm going to run this command through my connection and show it on the page. That's my task. So this page, naturally, you would think the flow would be making a database connection, first step. Okay. Second, run a select star from subscribers command. Third, get that result, and then, because the result have 3 records, right? Then somehow display those 3 records as formatted as HTML, like in the table. In this case, it's like a table. So formatting the result data, show the result data. So 3 things: connect, run the mySelectStar command, and then show it. Okay, so now let's look at the code to see if that's matching what we think it happened. So here's the database connection part. They include dbnewsletter.php. So I'm including a PHP file which is making the database connection, pointing to the right database. Okay. All right. If everything's smoothly, I have a good connection and pointing to the right database. Okay. Now, okay, here's the table name. I say I'm going to go into the table subscribers, and here's my string. Okay. Select star from table name, which is subscribers. So that's the select statement. Now here's running the query. Okay. Through the database connection, I'm running select star from subscribers, and I get a query result, and I'm saving it into the $query result. So query result now is pointing to this whole collection of data set. For this our case, we have 3 records. So query result is pointing to a record set containing of 3 records. If I'm getting, like on Amazon, searching for a book on Android, what did I get? Did I still have that? Okay, I got 34,811 results. Okay, I got that many results back as my result if I do a select star from. So what's this query that I'm running? If I'm running Amazon Android books. Everybody, in the behind this page, let's assume they're using PHP, but I don't think Amazon is using PHP. But okay, so what's the query? What's the query that's run that's produced this result? It's select star from inventory. Let's call this their thing inventory table. Let's say if they have an inventory table, where title, okay, the book's title, like %, Android books %. Okay, that's like star Android books star type of just saying any book the title contains Android books, then I'm going to return the result. Okay. In this case, it has 34,000 records. In our case, we only have 3 records. Okay, 3 records. Get back. We have 3 records in the query result. It's pointing to the first one. It's pointing there. Okay, pointing to this record set. Now, what happens next? We are looping through the 3 records and then placing the information on the table in the table format. So this is the HTML table thingy. Okay, and what is this? This is setting up a table tag, width and borders, and this is the row that has the heading. So this one is setting up the table, and this one is producing what? It's producing this header line. Okay, this line is what's produced with those few PHP code. You get the subscriber ID and the name. So the column headings was printed here with this line. Now column headings printed. Now I'm looping. So the looping will say MySQL fetch row. Okay, so this is saying, okay, now SQL result is pointing to this 3 records at the beginning of the 3 records. Okay, This is saying, okay, retrieve one row from the query result, okay, and give me back that row, okay, and then because you kind of retrieve that row, and then pointer goes to the next row, the next record, okay. So this one grabs one row, and then pointer goes to the next row. So grab one row, so I get the first one. So if you get the first one, if you would go to the pretty, okay, the first one will be Helen, Helen's son. So this record is my first one. So I have the first one, and then, okay, this one is grabbing the MS SQL fetch row. Not only grab the row, but how did you put the result? You put the result in the indexed array. Okay, again, using arrays. So array is like that go-to data type that we use in PHP to solve all kinds of problems. So we have this array. We put the first record in, Helen .son@wvm.edu, and then the confirmation date. So how did it get into the row? Okay, the columns, okay, becomes the array elements. So Helen, the name part will become row 0 is the name part. Oh, row 0 is the ID. There's a subscriber ID, a column, I forgot. Okay, so the first column is this subscriber ID. So row 0 will have the subscriber ID. Row with the square bracket 1 will have the name. Row with square bracket 2 will have the email. And row with square bracket 3 will have the subscriber date. And the 4 will have the confirmation date. So now we're going to put these, okay, in the cells, okay, in the cells in the table. Okay. And then we're going to loop. So we grab the next one and then do the same thing. Okay, and then go to the next one, goes to the same thing. So every time I process a row, in my output I have a new TR tag for a new row in the HTML. This is how you present the data. And then after all this done, I close my database connection. Any questions on this one? I want to make sure that you understand this part, because your homework and your final will be just similar to this, very similar to this, and your project will deal with this also. Any questions on this part? So far so good? Clear? Okay. So again, review. Make the database connection. Construct your select query. If you have some conditions, you would put in where clause. You would say select star from subscribers where. I say they subscribe, like you loyal customers, like the subscriber date was before 5 years ago. So they stayed with you for 5 years. You can put the where clause where subscribe date less than 5 years ago, 2008. Okay, something like that. Or select star from subscribers where they just joined. You want the new members, so you want to send them a welcome letter or package, something. So you say select star from subscribers where the specific date is kind of less than a week. Okay, so within the week, and things like that. Or if you want, in this case, we don't have a state. If you want to put the subscriber state information on the form and have them fill it in, then you can run a specific query to say select star from subscribers where state equal to California. So you pull out all the California customers or subscribers. Have the select query and run the query with MySQL query, the string and the connection. Grab the result. After the result, you do a while loop. Okay, and you use the MS SQL fetch row. and then pass the result. So every time you get one row, and then parse it into this array, and then you print the array out. Okay. So one iteration of this while loop, you are printing the result for one record. Okay, all the columns for that one particular record. And then you go to the next record and then print that information. Okay. So that's how you show the results. Any questions? Okay. And this other one, okay, it not only return the result, and also it kind of give you some extra information. Okay, let's look at that code. Oh, I didn't have it listed. Okay, let me pull this open. It's the same logic. So you would write a select statement. You would run from the database. However, just like the Amazon's, okay, Amazon's example, you probably want to show how many you have, right? Okay, so there's so many matching records. Okay, then you want to know like the total number of rows, and in the code, okay, you have, okay, you can use MySQL number of rows function to say okay, that's how, give me the number of total number. Okay, and this gives you the total number of columns. Okay, well, usually you don't display columns. Okay, you just display rows. How many records you have. Okay, that's how you can get it using MySQL number rows, and then you point out to the query result. Okay, this MS-free result set is freeing the memory allocation, because if you get a lot back, then it's a lot of memory you're taking up. When you call free result, you're releasing that memory. Okay, and then you can close the database connection. Okay, now go back to here, Android books. Okay, in a lot of websites out here, when you are searching for things, you get this kind of statistics, like how many records, and then you probably won't show all of them on one page if there's a lot. Okay, then and you will have this kind of navigation. This is very common, right? Second page, first page, and then the navigation that you show different pages. This is very common. Okay, then how do you do that? Okay, it's a little bit on this book, but how do you do that? Okay, or how does that work? Is it actually I have 34,000 records in my memory? That'll be a very slow processing, right? Usually its technique here is like just-in-time kind of request. You would, okay, get a total. You would first get a total. You do a count star. Okay, that's the SQL part that we didn't cover. You can get a total number of records for your potential return, and then with that total, you can kind of divide. Okay, oh, you usually have a how many per page. That number is in the configuration or something in your website. You said, okay, for my website, if I'm displaying list of books, I usually go with 16 this time, 16-ish. Okay, 16-ish for the site. If I do 16-ish, then I would know how many pages, right? Okay, and I would print that information up here, and then I would retrieve the top 16 first. Now display. And if user hit next, then I'm going to go and grab the next 16 and then show it. I don't retrieve all 34,000 and store it. How do we store it in an array? Well, that's going to take a lot of memory on the server. So you only display what you have, and you only retrieve what you need to. And then when you hit X, then you go back to the database and grab the next set, okay, and then print it out and display it. Okay, so that's that's usually what happens. And if you go to the real estate site, and you to even the Mission College site, by the way, we are in the registration period for the summer and fall. So you can start registering and check out our courses in the fall. So when you search for courses, okay, this is the form. Okay, so what's happening here? Okay, anybody? Okay, if I print fall, Mission College, CIS. Okay, I hit submit. What happens behind the scenes? Okay, with what you have learned so far, you pretty much can code this page, right? You would put, this is a drop-down box. This is a checkbox, okay, from the web page, and text field, a text field, the drop-down, another drop-down, and then 5 rows of this drop-down, and some checkboxes and everything. And when they hit submit, what happens in the receiving page? You check for the fields that the user filled. I put the fall, okay, so I get term field. I have 2013 fall. I'm calling the post, right? And then I have, this is a form, with the post method. And I grab the location. Okay, whatever the fields that the user put in, I grab those, and those are my search criteria. And I hit submit. What happened? Okay, in the data behind the scenes, I would construct my SQL query. Okay, my SQL query will be select star from, I say course, okay, sections that we offer. Okay, start from sections where, okay, term equal to spring 13. Location equal to Mission College, and department equal to CIS. Okay, then you run this query through the database connection. You grab all this data back. Then with the data, okay, then I loop through. Okay, query is all set. MySQL fetch row, and then I have the while loop, and I place in the table. Place the title of the course, I put the term, I put the status, I put the course, and some of these may come not from single table, from multiple tables. Okay, that's one, if for those of you who are taking my database class or have taken database classes, you would know that the select query will be a join of many tables. So it will be from the course table, from the section table, from the faculty table, from the classroom, if it's showing the classroom table, you join all together and pull all the columns that we needed in that select statement. Okay, and then you run the query through the PHP, and you get the result set back, and you loop through just like what we did here. It's exactly like we're doing here. So we do the fetch row, or this is associated with the other one. Okay, you do the fetch row of the result, and then you're looping through, and you're placing it in the TD tags, TR tags, in the right ones, and you put it in the result. Okay, and then how do you put the link? Okay, this is JavaScript, or you can put it a link if you want to have this section. Okay, 29794. You can code it to show the details, like show details course page question mark course section ID section number equal to 29794. And then when they click it, they go to the other page. I'll code the detail page. Okay, another page that shows the detail. Okay, and this is a pop-up. New window. Okay. Anyway, so after this chapter, okay, the most common, all the very common, very useful techniques we have learned. So you can code pretty much good chunks of the website out there if you really try. You have the technique already. It's just that the complexity is a little bit more. Your form have not just 2 fields, you have 10 or 20 fields. And your select statement may be a little more complicated depending on your database design. So if you are really coding heavy database backend driven website, I would really encourage you to take a database course. We only did it in like 1 week. Okay, you take a 1 semester long database course. It'll give you more power on the back end of how to construct your queries and how do you pull data from many different tables and how do you code these things. Okay, so if you want database-driven website, heavy database end, please take the database class. Okay. Any questions so far? I think I kind of covered most the important. I give you the highlights of the most important examples. I kind of skipped the PowerPoint bit. That's okay. Any questions? Coming back to the questions. If not, you can sign off, and I'll stay on a few minutes to answer questions. And I'll see you next Thursday. Any questions on this? We have a rather quiet group, yes. Pretty quiet group tonight. Everybody's tired probably. So usually the week this period is energy. Everybody energy is down a bit, and it's just the hard couple weeks. But please hang in there and get over this, and then you will. There's the end in sight. So please do remember to do your project, okay? We only have 2 more weeks till final, so do your project. Do your project. You use the query, okay? I have a question on the limiting. A few results you do limit in the query. On the SQL query, you don't want to retrieve all the records all in one shot, especially if the number of records are huge. So you, on the query part, you limit. Like you limit like 20 at a time or 100 at a time. You know, hundreds is not bad. Once you go into like thousands, 10,000, that's when you don't want to do it in one shot. If your records are only like 100, you may just take it in one shot and then display. At the display time, you do 20 at a time or 25 at a time in the while loop. So if your record is huge, limit in the query. If the record is not huge, then you get it in one shot, and then in the while loop you limit it. So that's like I guess both ways. Because database connection, although it's expensive, right? You make a database connection, it takes some time, and the retrieving it takes some time. But if the record size is huge, you don't want to hang up your page and have the user sitting there saying nothing while you're trying to get that records back. If it's like in 100, you know, the difference between 100 and 20, the retrieving time is the same. It's almost the same. It's not big deal. So just grab it. Go grab that 100, and then at the processing time, do 20 at a time. Any other questions? we are actually at this chapter piecing everything together. See, this is the one that kind of ties everything. Now after this one and the next chapter, we talk about a little bit of the session where you need to have the user log in. That ties everything together. So after chapter 9, you can code most of the sites out there on the web today. Okay, on the Amazon website, okay, the 16 and 16, okay. You can do a kind of top, okay, there's a top and I think it's top. In the top, in the SQL, there's a top modifier, so top 100, top 16. Okay, if you put in the SQL query, that will retrieve only the 16 records that satisfy your criteria. It only retrieves the 16. Other questions? This one has the kind of have the same thing as page 1 of 1. So this paging, also this one's similar. So it's displaying one page at a time. If you have more than like a certain number, it will go to the next page. So by the way, you can see we have a Python programming that's new. It's a little advertising now. And the Android app, so Python class is new this fall. And the 39 computer systems and assembly, this is new. This is a transfer course. And a Android course, where is this now? Android mobile apps programming Android, that's new. Okay, so if you're interested, you can sign up. I already have 9 students who signed up for my Android class. Well, Python class is popular too. Already 13 students signed up for fall. Well, that's a lot already. That's pretty good. Okay, any more questions? If not, you can sign off, and I'll see you next week online. Next week is also an interesting topic. It's on sessions and cookies and such. So pass the word out. Come into class. I hear somebody talking. Thank you everybody for joining me. You guys keep me going. Okay, let me turn off recording.